Hello and welcome once again to Splash League. This is season 20, week 2. We have Kokusho of Team Troopers versus Straight Shade of Team Champs. This is looking to be a banger of a matchup. I'm Chris on the mic. I'm doing this solo bolo. Now, today we've got a matchup of Terrain War. We've got Straight Shade with the Electric Terrain versus Kokusho with the Psychic Terrain. Both of these are very powerful terrains. Let the expanding force hit multiple targets or stop priority moves. The electric terrain will boost those paradox Pokemon, and we'll see stop them from getting sleep. Now I'm going to let them go ahead and get started. We can shoot things off right away, and we'll continue to run down this team. Now we've got, unfortunately, Straight Shade's Tapu Koko is very fast, which means it will usually set up the terrain first. If both Pokemon, in this case, when Pokemon enter, their abilities activate in order of speed tier. So as long as um, the Indeedee comes in, so here we see he kept the Tapu Koko off so that he could switch it in, maybe take away that Psychic Terrain. And we see Roaring Moon has photosynthesis for speed, so this thing is going to be very fast. We see the Komo Iron Valiant. Interesting. So I wonder if he's got this thing calced that he might get Tapu Koko to come in electric terrain, photosynthesis boost for this Iron Valiant up speed. I don't know what the speed tier looks like on that. It might be able to outspeed the Roaring Moon. Um, But we do notice that it does not have booster energy on that Iron Valiant, where we do see booster energy on the Roaring Moon. So it's got something else. I'm waiting for that electric terrain to give it the boost. Right off the bat, we know this Roaring Moon might Terra because it is being very, very threatened by this Iron Valiant. Even if it can, if it doesn't get outsped, both of these mons have a good chance to just take Roaring Moon down in one hit. Como with the fighting type, Iron Valiant with the fairy types. Como here is very threatened by this Indeedee, but so it might also see a Terra. We'll see if one of these switches. We see a Protect here on one of these mons because this is a very aggressive opening. Um, none of these are particularly uh, defensive, bulky enough to survive one of these super strong hits. Valiant is very frail, very strong, very fast. Roaring Moon is very fast, very strong. So we see the switch out. We do see the Terra into Fairy. We see the Terra into a Steel. We see the Imprison coming out from Roaring Moon. Or sorry, from Iron Valiant. Maybe hoping to stop a Trick Room here from the Indeedee. Could possibly also have Protect on the Iron Valiant. Imprison, Protect, stop it from getting around this. This Roaring Moon now is extremely threatening to this Como. Even though he took this boost, he will not survive if this Roaring Moon hits him with a fairy or a flying. Acrobatics is very common on Roaring Moon. Hitting into a Como that will do quite a bit of damage. We do see the Terra Steel on Iron Valiant, and now we've got Rotom, which copied its Como-O's. The Mirror Herb is huge tech. Wow, that's so it gets the full spread of boosts because of Clanger's Soul, and Rotom comes in, steals all of those. Now this Rotom is set up to sweep. Uh, this neither of Como or Unvalent have much into Rotom. Rotom's very decently bulky Pokemon. It will take some hits, dish them out. We see the Levitate. Wow, that's going to do a lot to Tapu Koko. There's a Thunderbolt, and immediately that's gone. He doesn't have electric terrain on the Tapu Koko, so he must have telepathy. I believe is the other ability to stop from getting hit by moves that its allies will use. So just like Rotom dodged the Earthquake, maybe the Tapu Koko is there to dodge an Earthquake from Iron Treads. Um, and that Valiant is right back in. So he was not worried at all about boosting this Valiant stats. It's definitely not a choice. Um, it's not choice scarred for choice specs on this thing. It's common items when it has imprisoned there. The Roaring Moon did live. The Flash Cannon was very strong, but it's not stab type here. And Roaring Moon is a little bit bulky, so I wonder if that is a roll or if Kokusho got a little bit lucky there on the roll because that combo with the 1.5 boost, it's got good special attack, hitting super effective into the fairy. Oh goodness, the earthquake again, and there's the wide guard to stop that, but the Thunderbolt takes out Iron Valiant in one hit, and he has to put in another flash cannon to to put away that Roaring Moon. Wow. And I missed Como had Throat Spray. Throat Spray is very interesting because Clangor Soul, one of the few sound-based moves, when you use a sound-based move, it will boost your special attack another stage. So Clangor Soul being able to give you full boosts, +1 in every stat, and give you an extra special attack boost on top of that. So +2 Flash Cannon into that Roaring Moon, it still didn't die. I'd be curious to see what the calcs were on that. CD overheat. There goes Iron Shreds. Um, Start to get some special attack loss on that Rotom. It's still going to be very bulky. I wonder if we'll see Nasty Plot raise that special attack back up. It's got the time now that it's so bulky. We've got the Indeedee here, likely going to just hit Expanding Force. It's strange that it didn't use Expanding Force and just Psychic. I guess Kokusho must have been planning for this to be a terrain war, and now that there isn't, he doesn't have expanding force. Maybe he just has psychic to be a single target move. The spread moves reduce damage, so maybe he just needed to nuke something down directly. Targeted nuke. We've got a 1v2 now. Straight Shade has his Como below half health. It's still got all those boosts. We've got the Rotom on Kokusho side, the Empoleon. Rotom is injured. Its special attack is lowered. Um, Neither of these have great play into Como, though. This Fighting Dragon, it's going to resist electric, it's going to resist water, and it's going to resist. So he does have Ice Beam. So now Empoleon, Straight Shade knows, is a threat. Como could still take this. He's going to take a little bit from that Terror Blast, but yeah, Clanging Scales. Ooh. So that does take down the Rotom, but he does lose. I'm curious if he did not have a fighting move there. The fighting move would have been good to hit the Empoleon, because it didn't seem like that Rotom was doing much. But this first game does go to Kokusho. Let's get ready for game two. Now, I wonder if we'll see a switch up in the leads here. Now they both know a little bit something about the other that, the Tapu Koko doesn't have electric terrain. It's got telepathy. He's got the time to set up the earthquake or whatever it is. Maybe might have a boom burst or something on Komo to hit all opposing Pokemon with that normal move, but it will also hit your allies, so telepathy would be good there. Maybe a sludge wave on Gengar, something like that. Um, he's got the Clefairy for redirection. That might be pretty handy here. It looks like a lot of Kokusho stuff has been single target. No, not a lot of spread moves so far, especially that expanding force that you would be worried about. We don't know if he has that or not. So I think he's a little bit behind on information here. Kokusho has shown, you know, just his Rotom, and we haven't seen what Iron Treads here. So this is where we're expecting telepathy. We're expecting an earthquake here out of Iron Treads, hit both of these. And we know that the traditional, very standard terror for Roaring Moon is flying, so he doesn't have to worry about that here. We'll probably see a switch into Rotom with the Levitate dodge that Earthquake, um, and we'll see what Tapu Koko has in store for us because we haven't seen either Tapu Koko or Iron Treads make an attack yet. They've kind of switched in and died, and that last game was really just carried by Komo, slowly whittling everything down, and every his partners just slowly passed away. It'll be interesting to see. There's no priority moves here while the Psychic Terrain is up, so that's working on both sides. Not that either any of these will have much. We did see Wide Guard come through from the Como earlier, so that's going to help against things like the Earthquake we saw in Roaring Moon. Um, we do see the Tailwind set up again. Dazzling Gleam right away. Oh, and the Roaring Moon lives that. We do see the Rotom switch in to dodge the Earthquake. We knew that was coming because there's telepathy up. That's pretty telegraphed. We do get the Rotom or the Roaring Moon out of the way. Turn one, it did get its job done, set up the Tailwind. This Rotom is going to be fast. These Iron Treads and Tapu Koko are very fast Pokemon, but it's going to be tough. Screamtail can be pretty fast, especially with the Tailwind, but Rotom, Empoleon, Regirock, and Indeedee are not known for being very fast, so I wonder what the speed tiers look like here if Rotom might outspeed Treads and Coco, but Indeedee might not yet. It depends on how the two of these prepare their Pokemon. And finally, I think we'll get to see whether or not Indeedee has expanding force. You know, previously you're very trepidatious to use a move like that. That could be a single target, gets to spread move, gets its boost when you're worried that Tapu Koko might switch in, take away the psychic terrain, switch it over. You don't get the power that you thought you had coming. Both players here in the tank, you know, this is a crucial turn, I think, for Kokusho. We do see the ground. There's the expanding force, so he did have that. That was strong enough to just wipe Tapu Koko off the map, and then the overheat connects, and Iron Treads goes down as well. That was an extremely, extremely strong expanding force. That almost makes me wonder if indeed he has choice specs, um, and that might be the reason why it was using Psychic earlier. It's possible that Straight Shade has um, Imprison Expanding Force on his Iron Valiant when we see the Expanding Force again, and it's just too strong. Follow Me doesn't do anything against those spread moves. He has no way to stop that Expanding Force from becoming boosted and from getting spread moves. Now we'll see if we can get either of these players in for interviews. Believe both of them were at work. This might be a tough road to hoe.
What is up?
All right, and we're welcomed by Kokusho and Straight Shade. That was a good set, guys. I'm very curious about some of these sets you had, if you guys count some of this stuff. nice quick end of the workday, obviously. Get your marquee in. I think the number one thing is I'm wondering about the Imprison set on Iron Valiant. Um, did you have Imprison Expanding Force?
Yeah, I had Imprison, Expanding Force, and Wide Guard. I was actually expecting the Hitmonlee to come with Wide Guard to stop the like, discharge, earthquake type spam stuff. And I was hoping to be able to get the Imprison off to stop the Wide Guard and the opposing Expanding Force so that I could like follow up with my own Expanding Force stuff. So when I didn't see the Hitmonchan, it kind of meant I prepped for the wrong half of the team, I guess.
Yeah, we saw, the tailwind was just very hard to deal with, and you didn't have any other way to stop that Expanding Force become a spread move. So was the Indeedee choice specs? That seemed like it did quite a lot.
Just life orb. Uh,
Okay, life orb. Okay, so still
it,
boosting, but yeah.
yeah, indeedy damage never, uh, yeah, ceases to amaze me.
It was a pretty impressive showing. Um, I'm curious, Straight J, does Como not have a fighting move? Because it almost seemed like Rotom didn't have a lot of play left into your boosted Como there. Um, I'm surprised to see you didn't target down the Empoleon, which definitely had the Ice Beam that was threatening you.
Yeah, no,
Um,
part of the problem with Koma-O is just like if you're using the his two signature moves and protect, you only really have space for one more move.
which had
And
Wide
I
Guard.
didn't know that I didn't think fighting was going to be super impressive in this match. Like it hits a couple things super effective, but he also has like a resistance and a 4x resistance, which didn't feel good. I
Yeah,
did like once I was looking at Empoleon and like even if I could finish Rotom, I didn't know if I was ever going to be able to punch through Empoleon before it could kill me. I was just really surprised both times at the Roaring Moon just living uh my spread move at like
yeah,
2 and 3%. That was so brutal.
yeah. That
Yeah.
was is that something you actually like calced a little, or you put a little bit of bulk into Roaring Moon?
He does have a fair bit of bulk into him. You have to if you want to boost your energy speed. But I did not specifically count for those, so I'm sure it was a roll, and I got lucky both
Yeah,
times.
the Dazzling Gleam, I didn't expect that to kill unless you were no bulk, but the +2 flash cannon, that was really surprising to me.
That surprised me as well, to be honest.
Yes, that was definitely a pivotal moment where you had to put another flash cannon into Roaring Moon. Unfortunate that he rolled that way. I think it was a really good set on both sides. I know it looked a little bit one-sided, but I think it was a very aggressive opening, one of
Yeah,
those things that goes really
it,
quickly both way, one way or the other.
it really felt like the game was on a knife's edge the whole time. I mean, it could have very easily broke a different way. Charles' team just felt very strong into mine, if I'm being honest. He, could compete with me for terrain, and if he brought, his whole team is electric terrain, so that's why I left my round two pick Amoonguss at home, just because it really shuts down Amoonguss. Not to mention that Como has Overcoat, so that also kind of punks Amoonguss there.
Yeah, it seems so hard to get the to win the terrain wars given how fast Tapu Koko is.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
I decided to just like let the psychic train come up and I was gonna get rid of it with like steel roller plus like make use of it with expanding force maybe.
yeah.
But the tailwind was just too brutal. I didn't have really any way to stop that I brought. That was the unfortunate thing. I figured I thought the speed was gonna be close, but the problem is it's just nothing can outspeed Roaring Moon on my
Yeah.
team.
I'm curious, even like boosted Iron Valiant doesn't catch it.
No, Iron Valiant's 3 speed slower.
He would have had
Ah,
to
oh, so Choice
boost
Scarf
plus
or
choice scarf, and
yeah,
Yeah.
I just felt that was so unlikely to happen. I put all my eggs in the
And
roaring moon basket.
even if I did end up going faster, like you can just Terra and
Yep.
then I
yeah,
just can't one shot. Well,
yeah.
unless I like, call to Terra and bring the right stuff. But that's the hard part is like I had the expanding force and dazzling gleam on my Iron Valiant, but you know, you could tear a steel, you could tear a flying, like those are pretty common tears, and it's hard to cover both of those. And you ended up Terra Fairy, which another one that's pretty tough to cover with Iron Valiant.
Yeah, I think the Iron Valiant set you had was really smart and not something I was prepared for. I think I just sort of lucked into being able to deal with it in those games. But you know, expanding force to make use of my psychic terrain, and then imprison and wide guard to try and shut down some of the ways I might be trying to attack you. I like that a lot.
Yeah, the Mirror Herb just really got me game one because the lead with Iron Valiant I thought went really well because I could cover your spread moves. I could force some things out. But then once you had the Omni boosted Rotom, I was like, well, now I guess you could just click any move into my Iron Valiant and kill it probably. So now I'm in a little awkward spot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was definitely a great call to just expect the Clangor's Soul right off the bat. Now, I'm curious. We haven't really talked about this yet. This is kind of, I don't think we talked about this last marquee either, but this is the new Siege season. How did you guys feel going into prep, knowing that, when he views the defender, you kind of get picked on a little bit? Like, what was the decision-making process with your team? Um, if you want to talk about this week, last week, I know. How did you guys feel about any of that stuff?
This week was a little weird. I was like, I'm going to Gen Con this weekend, so I hadn't spent a ton of time prepping. I did some of my prep last night, but it being the siege season makes it I think a little tough when you're on defense, just because you at least think that there's an edge in the matchup that they see. Because like
Yeah,
Joe mentioned that my team looks like it's really good into his team, and I agree. But just the fact that this was the matchup that was chosen made me have to think really hard about why was this the matchup that was chosen? And I imagined I thought it was mainly because you know they thought that they're able to win the train war pretty handily, and that kind of convinced me out of even bringing electric terrain. And I think it ended up being a negative for my team ultimately.
psyched you out a little bit. You go in, you're expecting some grand strategy from the attackers, right? Kokusho, what did you think about being on the attacking side?
Yeah, it was pretty interesting. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty busy over the weekend, so I didn't have a chance to give my captain a lot of input on who I thought I should play against. So I just said, "Hey, I trust you. Stick me where you want me to be, and I'll make it work." So
That's awesome. You've been attacker now twice.
that's right.
Yeah, so what are your expectations, I guess, for being on the defending side?
Yeah, it'll be interesting when it comes around to being on the defensive side. Like Straight Shade said, I think it's there's going to be a bit of psychological warfare at play where you're always going to think that they probably have some really good strategy going into you, and I it's going to be interesting trying to figure out what that is and try and find a way around it.
Yeah, there's definitely a case of you have lots of avenues to play the team. You have an advantage against the team or the player themselves. I know, some of the head-to-head stuff can skew pretty wildly. Some people have others clocked. Well, thanks so much for coming in. I don't know if you guys have any final thoughts.
I don't. I'm good. Good games, Joe.
Yeah, good games,
May-
Charles. Always
Maybe
a
we'll
pleasure to
battle
play
again
against
when
you.
I'm on offense.
Yeah, yeah. That's one part we didn't mention is that there's the revenge opportunity coming around. So
Yeah, that's definitely, I know, even in the regular season, when you come up to the playoffs, you're so worried about having to do battle again against someone. Oh, they've seen the stuff that you've got prepped, and that'll be a fun tool in the revenge season when the teams come back on the attack. and you're on the defense. Oh, why did Straight Shade, pick Kokusho or whatever happens? Why did that happen again? Does he have some insight? I think that'll be really exciting. This is turning out to be already a really killer season, so I'm very excited. And thanks so much for the wonderful battle, guys. And this has been Chris Solo Bolo Part 2.
Yep. See you guys.
See ya.
See ya.